Hi. So quick update and like forward thinking like that I want to do before I start rambling is that I'm in college right now, and so I'm playing the game less because it's just I'm playing the game less and I'm doing things way less because I just need to focus on school stuff. Um, so expect to see less content from me, but in regards of what content going to try and be doing moving forward, it's going to be more along the lines of these two videos and maybe VODs, just because I need to start focusing on the content that I want to do with the increase of school stuff, so I have less time to actually make content. So this is what you should expect um, from me. So, okay, I'm going to start rambling. Okay, so the thing I wanted to ramble about today was honestly, it's just DECA's priorities. I'm gonna be honest. So DECA made this poll on February 1st, so 2 days from me recording this video, about what we would like to see in Realm next. Like, what's like if we were looking forward to something in the near future, what would we be looking forward to? And their options are new dungeons, new items, new cosmetics, new classes, new dungeon mods, a chest event, or chest events plural, and a battle pass. And so, you know, I the fact that like bug fixes, like just bug fixes, like quality of life, or maybe not quality of life, but mostly bug fixes, like that's not even like listed. And there's 7 options on there, and their bot that makes polls can do way more than 7 options. Like they on December 29th, they put one out, and it had like 11, 12. I think there's 12. Yeah, there's 12 options for it. And so it's like, okay, there's 12 things, maybe they just forgot. But it's like, I I don't know, dude. And so I recently, I've been busy with school, as I said in the beginning of the video. I've been busy with school. I had a winter class, and the winter class ended, and my spring semester started. So it's like, okay, I'm already like, I haven't had much time to play anything. Um, and so when I come home from doing stuff, and I finish studying or whatever, and it's like, what do I want to do? Is the answer Realm? Well, yeah, for the most part, it would be Realm, and that's good mostly for player attention. It's like what keeps me coming back. It's just it's fun, and so it's like recently what's been happening is I've been getting home, I've been sitting down, and I was like, okay, what do I want to play? And it's like I want to play Bloons Tower Defense 6. I want to play Overwatch. It's just not Realm, and it's like, okay, maybe I've been thinking about it. It's like, okay, why have I shifted from sitting down and wanting to play Realm, and how does that go to Overwatch or Bloons Tower Defense 6? And the answer is bug reports. I've sent bug reports about desync on Kensei whenever the fuck I dash. Or not, it's not whenever I dash, but it happens very commonly whenever I dash. And so, I sent one, and it's like, okay, this is like the first time I'm coming into contact with this bug. Here's the report. This is what happens. Here's a clip. In case you need any information, there it is. And I sent it off. And, I got back an automated response because their customer support team is too busy doing whatever the fuck. Which, by the way, I've only ever gotten like 3 people responding to my like numerous bug reports. If they're understaffed, that's an issue because I feel that bug reports and like mostly things that the customer report or support like gets is heavily overlooked. It does not get as much attention to it. And sometimes I think like whenever they had like a cat killing everything, um and they did all the character advice, that maybe they had more of their team, look into it, or like be on the customer support temporarily, it's just help out. But it's like the second time I send a bug report, it's like, oh, here's, and it's like, we've already said something like this. Here's the response that you got before, and then they copy pasted the response that I got the first time. It's like, okay, whatever. And the third time, I got It was like, okay, maybe it's like, I dashed into an area that had like a bag with gravel in it, and as soon as like the bag rendered, I DC'd. So I was like, okay, maybe it's the bag. Maybe it's just like something that's coming into render too quickly and DCing me. Okay, whatever. So I sent that to DECA support. And that was a bug report. Do I care about the gravel that was in the bag? No. Like, why would I care? But it's like, okay, it's like, oh yeah, we're sorry. It's like a semi-automated response about like, sorry you had to deal with the bug. Unfortunately, we can't compensate the items that were lost. But here's like an epic quest chat and some stat pots. It's like, I wasn't even complaining about the items. I was just trying to get this bug fixed. And that bug, by the way, has been in the game for like half a month now or something like that. It's been in for a while. I don't know if it started before or after Motmeg finished, but it was introduced around when Motmeg had ended. I don't know if it was before or after. And so I've been coming home and not playing Realm because I need to play Kensei. And it's like, do I need to play Kensei? No. But what's like one of the biggest updates that Realm had like gotten? It's like in the most recent times, it's like, oh yeah, exaltations. Like, well, that's one of the biggest things that they've added. And so it's okay. It's like they saw a problem, which was their end game community kept leaving. So it's like, okay, how do we fix that? It's like, okay, so the way they fixed that was they added exaltations for their end game community to just feed on for a while. And so it's like, okay, I guess we have that, but it's like, why? So it's like, okay, so the endgame community has their exaltations now, right? So it's like, okay, I'm an endgame player. I've already exalted a bunch of classes. I think I'm at like 7 right now. Hunters would be number 8, but I need to exalt Kensei because I love playing Knight and Trickster, and my Knight had already been like fully exalted because I exalted Knight, all melees, and then all heavies at the time. So it's like, okay, great, I have exalted 4 classes and my Knight's super buff, right? And then they added Kensei. I'm like, okay, well, now I need to play Kensei. And the main reason why I'm playing Kensei is because I love playing Knight. So after I exalt Kensei, I'm going to go back and just keep playing Knight or, exalting whatever. And basically, I can't do that now. During Motmeg, I was perfectly fine because it wasn't broken. I was exalting characters. I have like a few max exalted stats already on Kensei, so it's like whatever. I was having a good time. And at the end of Motmeg, either towards or after, there was a bug that was introduced, and basically, if I dashed, funny, I would just DC. And I've already talked about like, me sending those bug reports, but basically it's been over half a month with these bugs in the game and they haven't been fixed or given attention to. Or maybe there has been attention given to, and I don't know, but what's like upsetting is that DECA has these polls and it's like, what would like to see next? Yeah, new content's always fun, blah blah blah, chest event, whatever. And it's like, what about my bug report? Like, what about all of these bugs that have been littered in the game? Like, why? Like, hopefully I'm making sense, and like, I want to see these fixed. And don't get me wrong, it's like, fine and stuff, but there are so many bugs just littered in the game. Like, right there, like, since Kensei was released, occasionally what would happen is that the game would be like, oh, you still have 1 dash remaining, so you can't use your channeling. You can't, like, press spacebar to re-engage your channeling. So it's like, okay, like, that kind of sucks. A few seconds later, it goes away whenever a natural timer of decay for your channeling goes away. So it's like, okay, it's a bug, but it's still playable, and you can also fix this by just unequipping you can unequip your sheath and then re-equip it, and then boom, it's fine again. But like, one of the fundamental things that you need to do with Kensei is currently bugged, so that when you actually do it, you'll just DC. So I'll I'll try and play the game, and then what'll happen is that I'll DC. I'm like, okay, well, I guess my workaround is I have to stop pressing spacebar, and then it's like I'm just playing a class that doesn't have an ability now. So it's like, okay, what's the point? So it's frustrating, and I'm assuming the reason why I haven't been coming back to the game whenever I sit down with my limited time to play the game is because it's just not fixed. And I was like going around today, and I didn't know how long I didn't know if the bug was fixed. I knew I hadn't downloaded an update, and it's just still there. So if I want to reach the end game that DECA has set out for me, which is Exalt Knight, which involves exalting Kensei because of the armor, then I have to play Kensei. And I can't do the thing to reach the end game that they want because I just can't. Like, I will just DC if I press my spacebar, which is very frustrating. And okay. So, hopefully everyone who's watching this video knows Kraykiller, or I guess Charizard. Kraykiller, Charizard. They go by either. Their YouTube is Kraykiller, but their in-game name is Charizard. I hope everyone watching this video knows of them, because they not only were the first person to exalt every stat, like just every class. When the number was 680, they were the first person to do that. Not only were they the first person to do that, but they're also just a really cracked player and very good at learning. At least that's why I like to pick at their brain sometimes, but they try to exalt Kensei casually, just by playing the game, and they kept DCing. So they were like, okay, yeah, no, I'm not playing the game. So currently, right now, they are still at 680. And DECA doesn't give endgame players they're like, here's more material for the endgame community. Hopefully they come back. Hopefully they do this. Hopefully you do that. Here's more content. We reworked one of the hardest dungeons. Hopefully they come back. And to their credit, most of the people, or like a good handful of people, will be like, oh yes, like Shatters, let's go do Shatters. And that's cool and all, but I know a handful of people who are very old players, as in veteran players, not like they're physically old, and they stopped playing because they're like, fuck, I don't want to do Shatters. So they'll stop. It may not be the only cause, but that was one of their I don't want to do this. I know one of my friends who stopped playing had a sorcerer that had above 115,000 fame, or no, not sorry, it was 15,000 fame. It was above the white star 5-star requirement thing. So they were like, okay, yeah, that should be good for that. And then it died, and then the update came, and they were like, what the fuck? Where, what happened? Why is my sorcerer not 5 stars? And they sent a bug report to DECA, or what the fuck? Please fix this. And they were like, oh yeah, we can't do anything about that. Here's some pots. Yeah, bye. And so it's so he is frustrated with that. And so it's I genuinely think that if DECA's end game is to retain their end game community, or retain any sort of the community, or any part of the community, it would be bug fixes. Fix your polish the game. My friend was frustrated and then quit after Shatters got released because not only was he not he wasn't rewarded the things that he should have been rewarded for, but he just didn't want to do the new things because he couldn't get the things that he was already doing. It's frustrating when DECA's like, oh, what's this new thing we need to add? What's this new thing we need to do? When they can't completely polish whatever they already had. I've talked with I've been around this community for some time, or very densely within the past 2 years at least, which I I have about 700 or 7,700 hours logged in this game, roughly around there. In which does not include the hours I spent VOD reviewing, helping other people, looking at material to learn from. It does not involve any of that for the most part. Maybe I have the game open and doing that at the same time, whatever. But densely for the last 2 years, I have been in this community very closely, and the majority of players that I meet, and if I ask them, I was like, would you care to see bug reports or like bug fixes? And they're like, yeah, I think I would be much happier with the game if I got like no new content, but it was just a bunch of bug fixes. And it's just like, yeah, and for a majority of the community, they'd probably agree with me in saying that we want we want bug fixes. We want attention to detail. We don't want okay, let me rephrase that. We want new content, of course. We love seeing new stuff. A bunch of the community is very hype around shatters. A lot of them are very frustrated with new shatters, which, that's like a mentality issue. That's not a game issue, because there's a bunch of people who have learned and mastered new shatters and are perfectly fine. Same thing with O3, people like got very frustrated while learning O3, and we found over time that it took months and months for people to get like really consistent at O3. And then now, it's been over a year, and there's a handful of like a good large majority of the community is fine with doing O3s. And it's fine. And the same thing inevitably will happen with shatters, where eventually the majority of the community, oh my god, I can't speak. The majority of the community will be okay with shatters. And it's like, okay, So is it okay when people leave whenever new difficult content comes out? Yeah, of course. It just happens. That's just a mentality thing. People struggle with the mentality of learning new things, which I have videos on, and they'll leave, and it's like whatever. That will happen if we get new things. But to keep people playing your game, we want bug fixes. We just want a more polished game. We want a medium to feel like it's fluid. And if we don't have that, then it's very frustrating. And so what stops me? What can possibly keep me in the RUM community for the long haul is it's just bug fixes. That's honestly. I still I have not mastered everything. I have like what 8 completes in new shatters, and it's like I'm still like elbow deep with learning at least newer content, and I'm still mastering older content. I'm still mastering O3s. I'm still mastering NPC voids. I'm still like learning more things about these things, even though I'm very proficient in these dungeons. There's still so much material for me to learn from, and like so much material for me to do, and I still have to exalt so many classes, because to be fair, I really don't care about exalting rogue classes. I just want to play trickster and knight constantly, so I guess I'll casually exalt rogue classes whenever that happens. But I'm still reaching the end game that is laid out for me. I'm still reaching the end game that DECA has laid out, but right now it's frustrating to reach that end game, not because of the material that's there, not because that these dungeons are difficult. Yeah, I'm still learning the dungeons, but I'm having a good time doing it. I am finding it hard to reach the end game when I have to do less, or like I can't do anything, or like I lose control of the situation. Like during Meg, I was like basically playing Kensei only for the whole thing. Unless, it's like I already exalted the stat and I just want to get exaltations on other classes. It's like, okay, I'll play other classes. But for the most part, I was just playing Kensei. And I was having a good time because that's what I needed to do. But recently, I need to play Kensei, and I can't. Because I don't feel like if I'm playing Kensei and I can't use my ability without the threat and risk of just DCing there, that I don't think that I'm going to have a good time. So I just don't play the game. And so I've been playing Overwatch, I've been playing Bloons Tower Defense, I've been playing Minecraft. You know, I've been playing all these other things because I just have not been wanting to play around because the bug has not been fixed. So when Deca asks what would you like to see next to Rotmeg, and they do not even offer the bug fix option, it's like you can't just ignore the problem and hopefully it goes away. Like I genuinely want to see that. I know, and like okay, I know that the like dungeon design team and like all of their teams that are working on content, I mean no disrespect to you. I really just want bug fixes. And I hate that like whatever team is working on bug fixes is being like ignored or just like overlooked just because like it's like, oh, I don't know. Like I don't like I maybe their priorities are like for a quick cash grab. I don't know. I mean, they've steered clear of that because now that we can actually like maybe okay, maybe their goal is still set on money, but maybe they're factoring in players like, you know, mentality now because you know, you can now buy skins and things just for, you know, there's like a centralized way to do it. You can find a skin and you know exactly how much you do instead of having to gamble for the skin. So that's a good like thing that they're doing, and I like love the fact that they're going down that avenue, but I just want a more polished game if I'm being honest. So hopefully I don't like offend the game developers that are in DECA, but I just it's just frustrating, and I don't think DECA as a company wants to see their player base leave because bugs. And currently that's where a good majority of the community is headed, or not. At least I say good majority of the community, but at least like your try-hard community will become more sick of your game if it's more frustrating to play. It's a very fun game, do not get me wrong. It is a very fun game. There's no reason, or no like there is a good reason of why people spend so much money in your game. There's a good reason, and it's a free-to-play game, so to spend any money on it is astounding in the first place, but there's a good reason that people do spend money on your game. There's a good reason why I have 700 or 7,700 hours in the game, or at least logged in the game. There's a good reason why there have been people who have been playing your game for over 10 years. There's a good reason why there's so many of the community is very healthy. But there's also a good reason why a good amount of that same community is leaving your game. There's a good reason why people quit. There's a good reason why people leave. There's a good reason why people are like, why the fuck am I playing this game? There's a good reason for a lot of these things. But if you want those reasons to to be more plentiful with why people enjoy your game and will keep coming back, you need to start considering why they're leaving. Like, what root causes are them leaving? And it's never one thing. Don't get me wrong. It's never one thing. People will, you know, have a bunch of things that just add on, and then just one thing that like tumbles the whole like deck of cards, and then they're like, oh shit, okay, I'm just gonna like fuck this. Like you know, the straw that broke the camel's back, as they say. You know, it's like there's like for a lot of people, it's like, oh fuck this new content. You know, here's shatters or here's this thing, and it's like, okay, you know, they'll leave. It's like maybe it's not just because of new shatters, but it's because of like a ton of other things that's layered on top of it. And for me right now, it's that bugs aren't getting fixed. It's just frustrating. Like like a lot of people think like, oh, you know, like Bard ignores vesture, you know, blah blah, blah. No, it doesn't. It's just that like the order of which the stats are applied is beneficial. So like if I do one dex effusion, I get 30 dexterity from that effusion. If I pop two, I'll get 30 from the first one and then 15 from the next one because it just halves, and then the next one is like 7.5 one, or however it calculates the other 7 or 8, and then after that it's either like 3.25 or like 4. So the way that stats get applied to you, that makes sense. That like those changes make sense. So like when Bard, you press the space bar with their loot, they get an initial defense buff, but because of the Vesture's minus defense on ability use, it basically just cancels out because the defense increase is like right around enough to just cancel the debuff that you get for Vesture. So it's like, okay, that's fine. It's like it's intended. It's weird that it works like that, but it's perfectly fine, and that makes sense because you wouldn't want to pop 4 dex effusions and get 120 more dexterity because that would just break the game a little bit. World records would be shattered. Things will die instantly. So it's like that makes sense. That is not a bug. That is an intended feature that has a funny interaction with the class. What isn't intended is me dashing and DCing. Loading times in vaults being horrendously long, which has gotten better. We don't want skins to be misaligned. They're always funny, but it makes it really hard to play the game. All of these bugs, sometimes they get fixed and sometimes they take forever. Sometimes a cat will eat shots and then kill players just randomly and take invisible shots, and they have to just shut down the game for a while and revert everything. And it's like, sometimes I guess it's like if it doesn't like bug fixes get fixed, or bug fixes exist, right? Bugs get fixed and it's like great. But I feel like if it doesn't, like the way that like a good amount of the community thinks and the way that I currently am thinking, or like I keep trying to keep an open mind. Maybe there's a blind spot in how I'm thinking, but when bugs take forever to get fixed, I want to know why. And if the reason is that basically DECA's not losing money too much to it, then they won't like pay too much attention to it. Then it's like, okay, but like they're like the bug that like killed a bunch of characters, yeah, it loses them a lot of money because people will immediately stop playing the game. They will tell other people do not play the game. So it hurts DECA in the long run. Even in the short run, it will hurt DECA if they don't fix it. So they have to like rush, fix, shut down the game, make sure no one else like dies and like blah 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 whatever. But then it's like this bug that's been slowly wearing me down to where I like choose to play another game rather than Realm, that like really gets your long-term community, and they're not doing it. It's been over half a month and it's not been fixed, and I don't know when it's going to get fixed, but bug reports aren't their main priority, and I really feel like it should be. Because it's just like, dude, how do I keep my long-term community keep playing my game? It's bug reports. They at least the ones who care will send in bug reports. Like I've sent in a bunch, and when it doesn't get fixed or attention isn't given to it, it's frustrating. It makes me want to play the game far less than I do. And so I just don't know what I'm going to do, I want to exalt Kensei. I want to do all these things. I want to involve myself with the community, but I can't. Or at least I can, but just not the way I want to, which is bad in the long term. If I can't do what I want, then what's the point of me doing it? I'm not doing it because I'm paid to do it. I'm not doing it because I'm doing anything. I'm not even paid to do it. I make videos, there's ads, and I can't even make money off of it. So it's like there's no monetary requirement for me to play the game. I'm not partnered. I can still talk with the community that, I've been involved with. And it's just like, what like, dudes, like, come on. Where, what's going on? And it's like, I don't understand. I'm one for like, if I make a mistake, that's on me, and I'll keep playing the game. It's like, that's why I don't like find dying really hard. If I die because the game is like, hey, by the way, we're gonna like close your game and you just can't do anything about it, but your character's still there, and if it dies, it dies. Oh well, whatever. You suck. It's like, okay, like that, as far as I'm aware, that has not happened. What has happened to me before is the game will literally overrun my memory usage, my RAM, and it like I would just die because I can't do anything. I can't hit R, even no matter how hard I'm mashing. I can't hit R because it's overrunning my memory. I can't even Alt F4 because it's just like I can't do that. So it's like, that's not on me. That's part of the game. And when the first time I showed frustration with the game, it like sucked. And so, I stopped playing the game, and then I was starting to come back, and it almost seemed like I had never left YouTube or anything like that. I had never like stopped uploading, and I kept doing stuff and blah blah blah. I mean, I took like there was like a period of time where I just never uploaded. That's also, part of it, but I I, it's very hard. It's okay to self-reflect as a player, I did this wrong, I did this stuff wrong, and it's like, okay, if self-reflection is in someone's strong suit, then it's like, okay, maybe they'll get frustrated more often, and then maybe they'll stop playing because they get frustrated. Okay, cool. That's on the player. When the game starts to become an issue, when the game is frustrating to play, when the frustration is not rooted in the player but in the game, then those players will leave. So what am I currently frustrated about? Am I frustrated about like not being able to self-reflect? No, I self-reflect all the time. I VOD review. I'm like, okay, what can I do differently in this situation? I can, that's just called self-reflecting, and that's very useful for VOD reviewing and getting better at anything that you do. And it's not even like VOD review, like real time. If I'm like struggling with something, it's like, okay, what didn't work? Oh, maybe if I'm standing here and getting shotgun, that's not a good thing, so let me not do that next time. But it's like, okay, next time, I've self-reflected, and maybe I will not stand where I'm just going to get shit on. It's like, okay, So if the player has an issue, frustration, within a perfectly working system, then they won't do anything, they'll be fine. But if the frustration is the system is breaking and they can't do anything about it, they will find a different thing to do. They will, like, let's say if exaltations didn't exist, I would just be playing 9 Trickster. I would play Kensei, fiddle around with it, but other than that, I'm just going to be playing 9 Trickster. Whatever, it happens. That's what it is. But now that I like need to exalt Kensei, then I'm going to be just sitting and playing Kensei. I've been having a fun time, but bugs are frustrating, so I've stopped playing the game because I can't play Kensei unless I unbound my ability. And it's like, what I probably DC'd from like 403s. I've DC'd from a bunch of like dungeons I need to do to exalt. I've been rum clearing, and I'll be DCing, and it's like it's just frustrating. It's frustrated because the medium sucks. So I feel like I'm gonna go on and on about the same thing. I brought up a new thing once in a while, but I feel like I've hit that point where it would be not productive for me to keep talking, because I feel like I will just keep saying the medium sucks, and I don't want to play the game. So I'm going to end this right about here. Um, I'm making this out of frustration. I've made 2 videos out of frustration. One of them was live, and I was, doing an HTT, and I died several times to the same thing because of a malfunction in the system. And then this one, where I'm losing the love for the game that I used to play all the time. And it's sad. So that was a lot to get off my chest. I've been thinking about this a lot, and I'm sorry for anyone who looks up to me as being someone who doesn't get frustrated or someone who has their shit figured out. Because I don't, I have a lot of shit figured out. My methodology with doing things has primarily been refined and focused on. But the truth of the story is I don't have all the answers. I don't have a method that deals with everything. And currently my frustration is rooted in something that I lack control in. So I'm sorry. And yeah.